know I got the receipts, girl. You know I got the receipts.
Hi, my name is Nicki Minaj and I go to PS45. I like to be a nurse when I grow up so I can help people less fortunate than I am. Help people less fortunate than I am. Help people less fortunate than I am.
Nicki Minaj was first spotted by the CEO of Young Money and was later recruited for the Carter edition of Young Money's own The Come Up DVD series. Her rapping skills caught the eyes of Lil Wayne, who later worked with her for many collaborations with his mixtapes. In April of 2007, Nicki released her first mixtape, Playtime Is Over. Then 1 year later, she made another mixtape, Safaree, which made her Female Artist of the Year at the Underground Music Awards. In 2009, she made her third mixtape, Beam Me Up Scotty, and also signed with Young Money Entertainment. In 2010, Nicki released Pink Friday and went on to become a major recording artist with her songs being played all around the world. But her life and career has been shrouded in controversy and mystery. From the revelation of a younger sister named Ming to her older brother Jelani being convicted of the rape of his 11-year-old stepdaughter, there has been one shocking event after another, with most recently her marriage to convicted sex offender Kenneth Petty, which left many people stunned, wondering how she could once again turn her back on victims of sexual assault. In this video, we expose the truth hidden behind the lies. With shocking photos and evidence never seen before, we invite you to examine the past, present, and future of rapper Nicki Minaj. Now, this is how Wikipedia has Nicki's origins. They have it listed as the following. Onika Tanya Mirage was born on December 8, 1982 in the St. James district of Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. Her father was Robert Mirage, a financial executive and a part-time gospel singer. And her mother, Carol Mirage, was also a gospel singer that worked in payroll and accounting. Now, Carol is from a large family of 11 brothers and sisters. She's number 10 in the lineup. She had a brother that had mental health issues, and she recalls a time when she was in high school that she come home to him breaking all of the windows in their house. She said he was destroying everything. She remembered the home being full of trauma with repeated episodes and the worsening symptoms of his mental health issues. It made it very chaotic in the home, and growing up was very difficult. She said there was just a lot of trauma in my early teens because of his illness. I was often afraid for my life. So getting with Nicki's father, Robert, and suffering through abuse with him came sort of natural to Carol. The signs were all there, but I didn't see them. Looking back, I can now see the signs that he had abusive tendencies. Now, when she got married at 20, she moved from one violent home to another. She said living with him was complete hell. If I only looked at someone, it was an argument. If we went out, I couldn't dance with anyone. If someone who knew me saw me out in the street and I spoke to that person, it was a big argument and a curse out in the street. I didn't realize it then. Those early signs of abuse. I was very young when the abuse started. Now, her son Jelani was born first, and then Onika was born second. She tried to keep it together and give them the best life that she could. She says, I worked at the Ministry of Works, Long Circular in St. James and in Big Yard, Diego Martin, as a checker handling payroll. I worked at the National Insurance Board as an accounting clerk and at the National Commercial Bank as a foreign exchange teller. I thought I was doing okay. She says that life was supposed to change when she got her green card. She had so much hope and great expectations. Her dad had actually filed for the green card for her. So when she was 24, she arrived in New York with this green card. She went to the Bronx and she entered Monroe College. Her husband followed 6 months after that because she had petitioned for him to come to the United States. She wanted to keep the family together, and she also needed his support to help her raise the family in this new country. Now, they were still a young family and things were supposed to change for the better, or so Robert promised. He got a job at American Express, and at first it was nice. Very nice, Carol said. He was cooking for her and he was doing a lot of nice things. Now, she had left Jelani and Nicki in St. James with her mother, with Nicki and Jelani arriving a few years after. Now, when the time drew near for them to come, her father helped her buy her first house in Queens on 147th Street off of Rockaway Boulevard. Now, Nicki has told the story of arriving in the U.S. from Trinidad and said that when her mother had first left her and Jelani with their grandmother, Nicki thought that Carol was only going to be gone for a couple of days, which actually turned into 2 years. Now, when they finally did go to be with her parents, instead of the white picket fence and the castle that Nicki was hoping to see, she instead was met with the cold of New York and the snow. She says she always remembers how it smelled when she got off of the plane, and never seeing snow before, she hated what America had to offer. From what she was seeing for the first time, she hated it. Now, when they arrived to the house, it was not what she had expected at all. The furniture was not put down yet. It was piled up on top of each other, and Nicki was so disappointed because she had imagined this castle and white picket fence. Now, can you imagine that, arriving in Queens, New York? Now, of course, her parents continued to argue, and they lived the same old chaotic life that they had lived in Trinidad. It was filled with violence and rage, but there was one difference that was different with Robert, and that was that he was now hooked on crack. Now, this was the middle of the 80s and the crack era, and Robert had gotten caught up in this epidemic only shortly after arriving to the United States. Now that he was hooked on this drug, Robert could not keep a job. He could not keep any money in his pocket, and he began stealing from the family to support his habit. Now, there was a lot happening in the home with Robert and his drug use, but Carol says that it was a surprise to her at first because she didn't actually know that he was using drugs until one winter night when he couldn't get any money for the drugs. He became enraged and he began arguing with her about not having any money. Now, this escalated quickly with Robert setting fire to their home with Carol still in it.
This is my old house. When we had hard times, my mother had to rent out her house, and we all four had to move in the basement, which was a studio apartment. Studio basement for 4 people. And we just used to have to walk by and see another family living beautifully in the main house, and we had to walk in the backyard and go downstairs in our basement. And, you know, gotta do what you gotta do. This house was the house that my father burned down. Me and my brother, we were at a neighbor's house spending the night that night. They came and said, your house is burning down. I just remember running, racing down, and I remember when I got here, I just saw a big commotion, and I was so scared I didn't know what happened, but everybody was running over here, and I just looked. My house was gone. The house was gone. All of my toys, all my clothes, all of my memories. I had a lot of hard times in that neighborhood, but I came through.
Now, as Nicki grew older and the house grew more chaotic, she says that she often wished that she had a more stricter upbringing because her home was actually very lenient. There was no discipline, and she said that her mother motivated her, but she wasn't much of a disciplinarian, and the kids could basically do what they wanted. So when Nicki became a teenager, she auditioned for admission to LaGuardia High School of Music and Art and Performing Arts, and she was accepted. She loved the school, and she says that it was the only place where she truly felt accepted and felt like she could actually be herself without feeling like there was something wrong with her.
Call that judge right now and tell him I can have my baby back. I am not gonna argue. Call him.
Here, the intense training gets the better of this young actress.
We gotta be careful.
Did I hit you with the phone? No.
Yeah, it looked like it. She didn't?
No.
Oh, okay.
But soon, Angry Phone Girl is ready to showcase her talents for New York's agents and casting directors.
You are building up a fantasy that is never gonna happen.
She wanted to be an actress, and she was cast in the off-Broadway play In Case You Forget in 2001. Now, Nicki has revealed that she had an abortion as a teenager in her songs All Things Go and Autobiography. She also talked about it in an interview that she did with Rolling Stone, where she said that she got pregnant by her first love, who was a much older guy, while at LaGuardia High School. She rapped on All Things Go in 2014 that her child with Aaron would have been 16 that year, which meant that she would have been pregnant at the age of 16 in 1998. And we know that Aaron probably was a fake name. Now, a quick tea break. When Nicki married Kenneth Petty in 2019, rumors resurfaced that when speaking about her first love and the abortion she had, that Kenny was the older man that she was referring to, and that the two had aborted their child all those years ago. There were also speculations that the child was actually never aborted and that it is actually her sister Ming. Well, I have exclusive photos that prove that Ming is not Nicki's daughter. In fact, the math and Ming's age do not add up, so she could not be the aborted child or any child of Nicki Minaj. Because here is Ming, who allegedly's real name is actually Maria. She's pictured here with her mother and father. Now take a close look at this photo. The man pictured here has actually been seen with Nicki Minaj before. You may recall back in 2020 when Nicki posted a picture of him and Ming and said that this was their father. Now, of course, this photo sent the internet into a frenzy and people started commenting that Ming and her were twins. Now, of course, Nicki knew this would be the case. She knew that people would react this way and that they wouldn't even stop to think about her real father, Robert Mirage, the man who's been shown in the press as Nicki's father. Nicki knew that the uncanny resemblance would confuse the narrative, which is why she posted the video. And another piece of evidence is this photo right here. This is Ming as an infant. She posted this photo to her social media, but it has since been removed. Now, if you recall this stunt, it was done around the time that Jennifer Huff began revealing to the world that Nicki Minaj and Kenneth Petty had been harassing her. In fact, in the year 2020, Nicki called Jennifer asking that she recant her testimony regarding the rape that she endured at the hands of Kenneth. So this stunt was nothing but a pure diversion tactic to distract the public, change the narrative, which, as you will learn further in this video, this is what Nicki Minaj does to distract the public. So before Nicki became known and went on to sign with Young Money, she was part of a rap group called Hood Stars. There were 3 other members in the group: Lou Star, Skag Beezy, and 7 Up, with Safaree Samuels later joining the group. Now, Lou Star was actually the son of bow-legged Lou from the popular R&B group Full Force. Now, about the biggest project that this group ever did was a song called Don't Mess With, which is on the Theme Addict WWE The Music Volume 6. Now, rumor has it that Nicki was in a relationship with 7 Up. The group was shopping around various record labels trying to get a deal, but they could not. So they ended up going their separate ways. Nicki continued to pursue her career, supporting herself, working at various restaurant jobs to buy studio time. And she worked at a few Red Lobsters, but she said she got fired from all of them because when the customers would take her pen or fail to tip her, she would follow them out to their car, banging on their windows and, yes, flipping them off and cussing them out. She told Jimmy Fallon in an interview, "I walked to the car, I banged on the car window, and I said, 'Give me my pen.' My manager fired me on the spot." So by this time, 7 Up actually goes to jail, and Nicki and Safaree team up, with Safaree becoming Nicki's hype man. Now, the two eventually started to form a romantic relationship, as you can guess. And now a quick tea break. So 7 Up went to jail around 2009. Well, oddly enough, Kenneth Petty was also serving a long sentence during that time for the manslaughter of a man that he killed. Now, I wonder if 7 Up and Kenny knew each other. I wonder, were they in the same prison? Is it mere coincidence that they were both in jail around that same time? And if Kenny and Nicki knew each other, with Kenny being her first love, when and where did they meet? Kenny was older than Nicki, so he didn't go to the same high school. Could it be that 7up and Kenny were involved in the same crime, and this crime sent them to jail? So as Nicki's career started taking off, when Lil Wayne approached Nicki when interviewed about that time period, Safaree has said that he kind of just fell back. He felt that Lil Wayne, of course, being the superstar that he was, could give Nicki what he could not give her. But in an interview with DJ Envy, Safaree made some pretty shocking claims, even suggesting that Nicki was training him to become someone different. I ended up being trained to be that kind of person. Like in the beginning, it's like, all right, Lil Wayne want to holler at you. I'm going to shut my mouth and let's see where this is going to go. I can't give you what he can give you, so I'm just going to support. I was just doing that for so long, it was programmed in my head. So DJ Envy and Safaree, they actually go way back. So Envy was able to get some things out of Safaree that maybe another interviewer would not have been able to. So Envy, referring specifically to the emotional abuse that Safaree went through at the hands of Nicki, said, I don't want to say that you were battered, but you were an abused boyfriend. Now, Gia, Envy's wife, she also was present during this interview, and she thought that Envy was joking, but he further explained that sometimes Safaree couldn't even leave the crib and that Safaree was sheltered. Safaree agreed with that, adding, nah, it's true, but it's because Nicki was sheltered. She's in her cocoon and I'm there with her. I didn't really have a life outside of that. Finally, Safaree described his own breaking point. He said that he was comfortable in the relationship despite the growing drama that came with it, but that even a non-confrontational person like himself had a limit. I was really comfortable, but then the fights and stuff, it was just getting too crazy. I was like, you know what? I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to go to the hospital. I walked away. I'm not a confrontational person and I don't like to argue. We're not going to be doing this all day, every day. I'm not going to have hands put on me. And the verbal, it takes a while to get over that. It took me a while to have my confidence. That's why I was always going to the gym so hard. It took me a good 4.5 years to be like, okay, now I'm me and I'm walking in my own. Woo child, not the hands being laid. So Deborah Atney, who was Nicki's manager at that time, said that she did not even know that Safaree and Nicki were dating, let alone a couple. Back in 2021, on an episode of Drink Champs, Deborah said that she thought Safaree was gay. I never knew her and Safaree was going together. I thought Safaree was a gay guy that she hung out with and he was her helper because she never showed him any affection. When I was booking her out, she was like, Deb, I need 2 rooms. But the 2 rooms wasn't for him because she would get dressed in the other room. But I didn't know that they went together. I never knew until he took my car from her and she called me to have him locked up. And then he called me and that's when he broke down everything. Woo child, now not the gay helper. Let me find out that Safaree was Tay before there was a Tay. So we've looked back at the beginning stages of Nicki Minaj's career and her life, and through what was revealed, there is no mention of Nicki's younger brother, Micah. Even when Nicki's mother, Carol, speaks about the early years, she doesn't even mention him, only Jelani and Nicki. Does Micah share the same mother and father as Nicki? Was he born in Trinidad or was he born in New York? Well, according to the information that I found while doing this research for the video, Micah was born in March of 1998. Now, coincidentally, that is the same year that Nicki claimed to have been pregnant at the age of 16, but she terminated that pregnancy. Could this actually be Nicki's son instead of her brother? All of the fights in the Mirage household between Carol and Robert, what was that over? Prior to coming to the United States, the couple, they still had a volatile relationship. So it wasn't just Robert's drug problem that was to blame. Could it have been something more? Well, while doing the research for this video, I received an email that suggested that the man pictured in the photo/video with Ming and Nicki is actually Nicki's father. Like she said, that Robert Mirage was Nicki's stepfather and that he knew that Nicki was not his biological daughter, which was the reason for the fights between him and Carol. Now, this email also suggested that Ming is not permitted to see Nicki. Her real parents keep her away. And as you can guess, what accompanied this email? That's right, a photo. Now, in this photo, who do you see? You see a young Nicki Minaj with a younger version of Ming and her father. Now, if you read the caption on this photo, it seems to be from the little girl in the picture that Nicki is holding. This is a throwback photo, and the girl has captioned the picture saying, "Look at how I was looking at you," talking to Ming. Now, when I asked my source who was the little girl that Nicki is pictured holding, the source said that it was Ming's cousin. So this would answer a lot of questions that were being asked in the first video/photo that Nicki posted of them. These pictures suggest that Nicki could in fact be the sister of Ming, and the man in the picture could actually be Nicki's real father. Woo child, the tea. Now, Nicki Minaj went on to sell millions of records and make countless hits that continue to be played throughout the world today. There's no arguing that she's got talent, and it cannot be denied that she has made millions of dollars that has helped provide for her family. But at what price has this fame cost others? What have others suffered at the hands of Nicki Minaj or her family? There's no question that Nicki and her older brother Jelani suffered through chaos in their home while they were growing up. Now, this quite naturally caused them both to form a tight bond, but just how far does this bond go? Now, in 2015, Jelani Mirage was 38 at the time. He was accused of raping his 11-year-old stepdaughter after he married her mother, Jacqueline Robinson. During the trial, a child abuse expert said that Jelani did penetrate the child, raping the girl as often as 4 times a week. A doctor also testified as a witness for the prosecution, saying that the girl's medical exam served as proof that she was subjected to sex. The doctor said, "I can say with a reasonable degree of certainty that the girl's medical exam can prove penetration," he said on the witness stand as he showed the jury examination photos. But in cross-examination, Jelani's attorney implied that the medical evidence could have been caused by the girl, who was now 14 at that time, that she had been sleeping with another teenager. Assume the patient has a boyfriend who is 15 and she's having sex for 6 months, the lawyer said. Are those findings consistent with having sex with a 15-year-old boyfriend? Now, the judge did not allow the doctor to answer that question, citing speculation. So during the trial's opening arguments, Jelani's attorney told jurors that the victim's mother hatched an elaborate plan to marry Jelani so that she could try and get money out of his famous sister, Nicki Minaj. He added that the mother forced the victim and her younger brother to lie to authorities about the rape allegations as part of her extortion plan, allegedly telling Nicki, "I can make the charges go away for $25 million." Now, Nicki was set to take the stand and tell jurors that the mother of the alleged victim did offer to make the accusations go away in exchange for money. But the DA also told jurors that the girl's brother, who was then 8 years old at the time, had witnessed some of the abuse. The boy had told Child Services that his stepfather had beaten him after he walked into the bedroom and saw him raping his sister. Child Services then alerted the police, who then found Jelani's semen on the groin area of the girl's pajama pants. The prosecutor told jurors that Jelani had threatened the girl and told her that she would end up in foster care if she told anyone about the abuse. Now, the defense claimed that the girl's mother planted Jelani's DNA on the pajamas herself and made sure that the police found them. Jelani's attorneys continued to push to the jury that this was all a scheme to get $25 million out of Nicki Minaj. An evil Jackie targeted him, trying to get him to marry her. And then just 4 months after they were married, we have this, Jelani's attorney said. So when all of this was going on in the public, as you can imagine, many people were outraged when they learned that when Jelani had been arrested, Nicki was actually the one that posted his $100,000 bond. Now, during this time, as you may recall, Nicki was dating Meek Mill. They two had a very public and very quick romance. So when it ended bad, with the pair trading insults on social media every day. Now, at one point, Meek even suggested that Nicki knew about the abuse that her brother was inflicting upon his stepdaughter before he was arrested. Meek posted this on Twitter saying, "The only way you can try to kill my character is to say I beat women. Talk about your brother convicted of rape and you been knew and paid for his lawyer. Your little brother touched that little girl too. You know I know you want me to crash your boyfriend and I won't. You said you willing to crash your man because you losing now and everybody in the industry know you a bad person. You been knew your brother was raping that little girl and that's why I got away from you. Surrounded by rapists talking what? Stop playing. You picked a great time to be saying I ever put my hands on you. You full of hate and the whole industry know you full of hate. And your bag getting low so you want to destroy me." This was all in response to Nicki alleging that Meek Mill had been physically abusive towards her when they were in a relationship. Meek denied those claims, tweeting, "For clarification, I don't hit women. And I won't let my interviews be filled with questions about her or any situation to do with her when I come out to do press for my new album. No devil's tricks." Now, of course, Nicki had a response saying, "Imagine talking about an alleged rape of a child to hurt someone who wasn't involved just so people can dislike me. You can never stand on your own. You won't tell people the mother is on tape asking me for $20 million to make the charge go away though. You was around, you know. See you soon. Woo child, the ghetto." Now, Jelani went on to be found guilty of this crime and sentenced to 25 years in jail. Nicki ended up not taking the stand during the trial, with her attorney stating that she had never planned on taking the stand and all claims suggesting so were false. Now, what do you guys think about that? Drop in the comments below and let me know. Do you think that Nicki was going to at first get on the stand, but then once the overwhelming amount of evidence was revealed, she backed out? I mean, if there was a tape with the child's mother saying that she would take $25 million and the charges would go away, why wouldn't Nicki get on the stand and testify to that? Now, late 2015, 2016, Nicki Minaj was set to have a sitcom about her childhood growing up in Queens. The series was set to portray her upbringing in the 90s with a vibrant immigrant family, and it was set to be a comedy. There was even an entire cast picked out already, with a little girl by the name of Ariana Neal set to play Nicki's character. Nicki was set to produce the show and even make appearances from time to time, with the show being titled Nicki. Now, the network Freeform was set to air this sitcom, and it was expected to be a huge hit. I mean, they even had Whoopi Goldberg set to play the neighbor, honey. But then out of nowhere, the show was just canceled, and we never heard about it again. So what happened? Well, according to sources, around the time that Freeform was rebranding from being formerly known as ABC Family, they had shot this pilot in Nicki's hometown of Queens in the winter of 2016. Now, apparently, new executives at now Freeform and not ABC Family did not like the pilot for the show Nicki and decided to scrap it. There was no word if they were going to shoot it over, and there was also the issue that the main characters were getting older. They were set to play kids, but now that they were getting older, they would have to pick an entire new cast. So tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. Would you have tuned in to watch this show? I mean, a sitcom about a vibrant Immigrant family. Well, maybe the people down to the freeform found out that the family was anything but vibrant, with Robert having been hooked on crack trying to burn down their home with Carol in it. Woo child. So when we talk about the abuse that Jelani inflicted upon the 11-year-old stepdaughter, I have to take a look at these photos of Nicki Minaj. Could it be that her family, that there is a history of predatory behavior? It seems in these pictures with bow-legged Lou, with older men, that Nicki Minaj is comfortable with older men putting their arms around her in this suggestive manner. Could it be bow-legged Lou? Is he the older man that Nicki Minaj was in love with and had a child by? We do not know. We can only speculate. But in these photos, it just looks really creepy, and it looks disturbing that an older man such as himself would be photoed with his arms wrapped around her in such a way. I mean, many people do not know this, but even though she was in the group Hood Stars with bow-legged Lou's son, Full Force is actually the ones that take credit for being the ones to have Nicki Minaj as an artist. So people don't really know that she was with Full Force before she was actually with the group Hood Stars. So that would explain the relationship between the two, but it still doesn't take away from the fact that these photos are really disturbing. And when I look at these photos, it makes me think about why she may take the stance that she takes when it comes to victims of sexual assault. Now, before we get into the details of this next segment, I want to issue a trigger warning. Sexual assault and rape is going to be discussed. Now, my intention is not to victim shame sexual assault victims in any way. As it pertains to Kenneth Petty, my intention is not to lie, manipulate, or distort any details of this case. I do not want to twist the narrative in favor of either party. My intention is just to expose the truth and do that using real statements and real receipts. Now, before we even get into discussing Jennifer Huff's rape case, we have to back it up a bit. There are certain details that led up to the world even learning about who Jennifer Huff even was. I mean, who Kenneth Petty was, for that matter. If I'm done with my 5th album and I don't have a child by then, no matter how much money I have, I would be disappointed as a woman because I feel like I was put here to be a mother. I have definitely put off the wife thing because I don't want people in my business. I'd rather not do anything that's going to be on paper, but I definitely will be married before I have my baby. I want to make sure I do it in that order. I've always felt like that since I was young. My mother always put that in my head. By the 5th album, I will have walked down the aisle and I will at least be on baby number 1, possibly baby number 2, and have $500 million. Now, these were Nicki's words to the publication Complex in December of 2014. Now, 4 years later, in December of 2018, she would actually break her own rules. On her birthday, she posted this photo to Instagram and captioned it by saying, "Did you ever make it out of that town where nothing ever happens? It's no secret that the both of us are running out of time."
Happy birthday to Sleep. Happy birthday, Sleep.
Now, of course, the internet went crazy, but it was not in the way that Nicki had expected. She was met with backlash as people pointed out that the man she had posted, Kenneth Petty, was a convicted sex offender. He was convicted in 1995 of first-degree attempted rape, and he pleaded guilty in 2006 to first-degree manslaughter. Now, Nicki responded to the criticism by saying he was 15 and she was 16 in a relationship, but go off internet. Y'all can't run my life. Y'all can't even run your own life. Thank you, boo. Now, a source then told Us Weekly that Nicki and Kenny had dated when she was a teenager before she was famous. They linked up when she handed out turkeys for Thanksgiving in her hometown earlier that year. Then Nicki posts on her Instagram that Kenny got a large tattoo of her real first name, Onika, on his neck and captioned the video post by saying, "Did your tat hurt, Zaddy?" His first tat. Fronting like it didn't sting. Hashtag Onika. Hashtag heavy on it. Hashtag super sleazy. Now, a source then told US Weekly again that Nicki and Kenny were discussing having children. Nicki is absolutely head over heels in love with Kenny. She fell hard and fast. She hasn't smiled this much in a long time. She really believes that he has changed since his troublesome days, but some of her friends are still a bit wary. Then in January of 2019, Nicki posted a video of Kenny kissing her feet in a hot tub and captioned, "Fendi Pink on, Chun lead links on." Then during a Q&A session with her Twitter followers, Nicki revealed that her and Kenny have sex 3 to 4 times a night on average, because 6 is a bit much, sis. She also confirmed that they had known each other since they were very young kids in the hood before the fame and fortune, adding, "But anyway, timing is everything." Now, in February of 2019, they were photoed celebrating a friend's birthday party in Hollywood alongside of young M.A. And then in March of 2019, rumors started circulating that the pair were actually married when Nicki called Kenny her husband on an episode of Queen Radio. "Every night when I get out of the shower, my husband takes this really good lotion that we just bought and he massages my feet and rubs them. And he rubs each toe individually and the heel and the ball of my foot, and he does it all." Later, she told US Weekly that they actually were not married. Now, in June of 2019, Kenny made an appearance in Nicki's video for her single Megatron. And then just hours after releasing that song, she aired on Queen Radio that her and Kenny had gotten their marriage license. She also shut down pregnancy rumors, but she did say that having a child was her end goal. Then in July, the couple had to get a second marriage license because their first one had expired. And later on Queen Radio, she said that they had 90 days from the date of the license to get married. She also changed her name on Twitter to Mrs. Petty. And then in October of 2019, Nicki announced on Instagram that she and Kenny were married. Now, through 2020, Nicki posted on Instagram her and Kenny's moments, and to the public, it seemed that the pair were happy. And in the public, it seemed like maybe Kenny was weighing on people. His image was slowly changing. People thought, well, if he makes her happy and they're in love, maybe he's a changed guy. Maybe he isn't a criminal or a bad man anymore. They were out at fashion shows. They were going to events. They were really living it up. And that narrative is just what Nicki Minaj wanted everyone to think. And then in July of 2020, she posts that she's pregnant, captioning this post, "Preggers." Then in September of that year, they welcomed their son. Now, to the public, things seem to be going great. And that's just what posting happy moments, marriages, births, that's all what it's intended to do. It's intended to paint a narrative that all is well with the world, all is well with others. Everything's fine. But just what was really going on behind the scenes? As we all know, not all the time is everything what it seems. Now, Nicki and Kenny's love story goes way back, they claim. Nicki said that she knew Kenny when she was 17 years old. So when she saw him in the neighborhood that day at the turkey drive, he was a familiar face and a childhood friend. He was her first love. Now let's unpack that. Kenny was convicted of manslaughter in 2002 for the death of a man by the name of Lamont Robinson. Now, according to the police report, Kenneth Petty walked up to Robinson and shot him on the street corner in Queens. Kenny and a group of friends approached Robinson, and this man actually got shot in the stomach 3 times. Now, Robinson did survive at first, and he was able to pick Kenny out of a lineup, but he later died afterwards. Now, initially being charged with second-degree murder, Kenny was able to plead it down to first-degree manslaughter and serve 7 years in prison, being released in 2013. So where was Kenny for 5 years? If he got out in 2013, but he and Nicki didn't get back together until 2018, What was Kenny doing for 5 years? Well, a woman by the name of Noelle, aka Redbone, knows exactly what he was doing. In 2019, while Kenny and Nicki were professing their love on social media, she claimed that Kenny was actually her man and that Nicki had stolen him from her. She posted on social media saying, "Have no problem with her, but she messing with my man that was living with me. How he just wake up and chase behind a rapper? I mean, I know she famous and all, and girls chase rappers all the time, but as a man, my man, I wouldn't expect that at all. Was mine, he's hers now." Now, Noelle also seemed to deny that she had revealed Kenny's criminal past, saying, "Nah, never said that. Someone looked up his record and seen it for theirself." So quite naturally, Nicki was amused by this, and so to fuel the rumors and intentionally hurt Noelle, she continued to post her and Kenny and flaunt their relationship. And then the next the public hears is that Redbone was viciously attacked in her home after insinuating in posts that Kenny was still contacting her and still trying to see her behind Nicki's back. In March of 2019, she posts graphic images of herself detailing a terrible home invasion in which she claims someone tried to kill her. She posted, "Thank God my daughter wasn't home, and I'm thanking God I'm still alive. Came to shoot me in my own home and dropped your gun. I'm out of commission for a few. Pray for me." Now, as you can imagine, the internet went wild with some people speculating that it was Kenneth Petty or maybe even Nicki Minaj that were responsible for the brutal attack. Now, what do you think about this attack? If the perpetrator dropped their gun and if you knew the person, you would probably recognize the gun, right? Well, to date, there has not been an arrest in connection with the invasion, and it leaves me to wonder if maybe there is some truth to Kenny having been the one to have done this. Did Redbone report the gun or incident to the police? If she recognized the gun, then she knew the person as well. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, when Nicki did her show in November of 2019 on Queen Radio, when speaking about the incident involving Kenny, she said that he was 15 years old and was wrongfully accused and did not have bail money. She said that the plaintiff had written a letter recanting her statement, but would face 90 days in jail if she did recant the statement. She insinuated that the girl was a white girl, so white is right. Now, this statement is actually crucial. When the public initially found out about the rape, they were disgusted. So to get the public to change their minds, what better way to do that but to say that Kenny was young? He was a young black boy who was railroaded by the system at the hands of a young white girl. So now the world is looking for this white girl. They want to know, who is this woman? Who is the white woman that railroaded Nicki Minaj's new husband? So since everyone was looking for her, the victim decides to record an interview with a YouTube blogger to give her side of the story in hopes that this will put an end to everything. But sadly, this only added fuel to the fire, and after the video aired, it was revealed that the victim's name was Jennifer Huff. So now in March of 2020, Kenny gets arrested for failure to register as a sex offender in California. Now that he's married to Nicki Minaj, he's living in a swanky Hidden Hills community, and he doesn't think he needs to register. Now, of course, this is in the press, the blogs are covering it, and everyone is expecting Nicki Minaj to make a statement about it. Instead, what do we see? We see Nicki Minaj posting about a sister named Ming and their father. Now that the world knows that the victim is Jennifer, Jennifer starts being contacted behind the scenes by a childhood friend named Black and Nicki Minaj. Now, when Black contacts Jennifer, they talk about old times in the neighborhood, and then he gets around to talking about what happened with her and Kenny, to which Jennifer says that she wishes all of it would just go away because of how it's all over the blogs and social media. Now, Black takes an innocent comment like that and says that he can make that happen for her. And a few days later, he calls again saying that Nicki Minaj had asked for Jennifer's number and he had actually given it to her. So shortly after this, Nicki calls Jennifer saying that she got word that she wanted to help out with the situation. Now, this was insinuating that Jennifer would somehow help Kenny's situation by recanting her story. Nicki then offers to fly Jennifer and her family out to LA, to which Jennifer declines. Nicki then goes further to say that she could send a publicist to meet with Jennifer to help craft a statement that would recant the rape charge, but Jennifer declines this offer also. Now, before the two women actually hang up the phone call, Jennifer tells Nicki, "I need you to know, woman to woman, that this happened." Nicki hangs up the phone without even acknowledging that statement. Now, from then on, Jennifer and her family, they began receiving harassing calls and unsolicited visits from people representing Kenneth and Nicki. And Jennifer's brother then tells her that two people reached out to one of their family members offering $500,000 from Nicki if Jennifer would recant her rape claim. So again, while the world was seeing one thing from Nicki Minaj on social media, there was a whole different scenario taking place behind the scenes. Kenneth Petty not registering as a sex offender, that was a legal issue weighing on the newlywed couple. And Kenneth Petty was also now suing the state of New York for his original conviction, citing multiple infractions against New York State. Getting the victim in this case to actually recant and say that the rape never occurred, that would be a huge win and it would benefit him. Now, also in the year 2020, Jennifer received visits from Nicki Minaj's attorney, Kenny's associate Black, and this was severely affecting her mental health, and she also feared for her and her family's safety. So around August of 2020, Jennifer and her family move, and when moving, about 3 days later, the U.S. Marshals show up to her husband's place of employment. Now, once they were actually put in contact with Jennifer, they assured her that they were there to help. They had heard that she was being harassed, and they stated that they could put her in witness protection. They also confirmed that the call that Jennifer received from California was indeed Nicki Minaj. Now, to speed things up a bit, around 2021, Jennifer decides to sue Kenneth Petty and Nicki Minaj for harassment. She stated that everything that she'd been through, all of the visits, all of the unsolicited offers to recant was just too much, and so she sued Nicki Minaj and Kenneth Petty for harassment. Jennifer stated that she and her family had to move to multiple states to avoid intimidation and harassment by Nicki, Kenny, and their associates, as well as their legal teams and fans. Jennifer further professed that Nicki Minaj used her celebrity platform to bash and bully her. Then in September of 2021, Jennifer appeared on the talk show The Real, and in an explosive interview, for the first time ever, she was able to tell her story without being ashamed. But then in a shocking turn of events, in January of 2022, Jennifer drops Nicki Minaj from the lawsuit, filing a voluntary dismissal. Now, in the court documents, there was no reason given for the dismissal, and Jennifer's lawyer, Tyrone Blackburn, told the Rolling Stone publication that the case against Nicki had been voluntarily dismissed in New York, but as for Kenneth Petty, the case was still ongoing against him for the 1995 rape of Jennifer. So, of course, there has been many mixed sentiments when it comes to this case. On one hand, people support Kenny and Nicki and feel that Kenny served his time and everyone should just stop talking about the case and move on. They even feel that maybe Jennifer was not raped at all. Now, this brings us to what actually happened to Jennifer Hough in 1994. Now, we have a copy of the police report and a few other legal documents. So in Jennifer's interviews and every time that she's spoken about this incident, she's always said that while she was walking on her way to school, Kenny walked up behind her and put a knife to her back, urging her to his grandmother's house where he raped her. Now, after the assault, Jennifer managed to escape, where she ran to school and told administrators what had just occurred. The police were called, and then they went to the house that Jennifer leads them to, where they encounter Kenneth Petty. The knife is there that he used, and other evidence was collected. Jennifer is taken to the hospital where a rape kit is done. So this first document here is Jennifer's statement to the police. So we see here the date is 9/16/1994. The charge is forcible rape and unlawful imprisonment. Now, this happened to the victim, Jennifer Huff, and her address is listed on here as well. It says this happened on the way walking to school. Now, as we get farther into the document, you go down, it's listed as sex crimes. And then we go further down and we see that the perpetrator is listed as Kenny Petty, nicknamed Kazoo. It gives a description of him as well as what he was wearing. And then when you go down further, you see Jennifer's statement to the police about what actually occurred. Above, victim states that she was walking to school when perp did put a blunt object into her back and told her to keep walking. The victim then heard a clicking noise and assumed that the object was a gun and complied. The perp then walked the victim to a house, forced her upstairs into a room, pushed her down onto a bed, and did forcibly pull down her pants and did forcibly place his penis into her vagina. The perp then kept the victim against her will for approximately 20 minutes. Then, as you read further down, the statement continues, stating that the victim then struck the perp with a plastic bottle, causing perp to fall, and the victim did flee. Now, the next document here is the ER intake form for Jennifer Huff, because when she went to the hospital, she had the rape kit done. Now, these documents here, these are the documents for the actual rape kit that was performed. Now, this police laboratory analysis report details what was taken off of Jennifer Huff. So the evidence is listed as one sealed evidence collection kit. It was containing vaginal swabs, a vaginal DNA swab. It was containing a pair of panties, 2 oral smears, 1 oral swab, and 6 envelopes labeled as pulled head hairs, fingernail scrapings, pubic hair combings, pulled pubic hair, dried blood control. The report goes on to say that 2 vaginal smears and 1 pair of panties were positive for the presence of sperm, and then 2 oral smears and 1 oral swab were negative for the presence of sperm. So now this document is the police laboratory analysis report for the evidence that was collected at the scene. They have 1 pair of green Levi jeans, a white t-shirt, 1 pair of checkered boxer shorts, a white pair of Fila sneakers, the large knife, and then the bottle that Jen hit Kenny with, and then 2 bed sheets. So this next document is the intake bureau's form, and when they filled out this form, as you can see, the original charge was rape and sexual assault. It was rape in the first degree. Kenny was age 16. They have the relationship listed as an acquaintance. They got the date of the offense and the time that it occurred. So this is the original charge. And as you can see, when people say that he was found guilty of attempted rape, meaning that he did not rape her, it was an attempt. No, the original charge was rape in the first degree, sexual assault. It was pleaded down to attempted rape. So here we see the version of events listed again, and we also see the property recovered, which is the large knife again, the cleanser bottle, the bed sheets, and clothes. And as we move down to the bottom of the document, it is listed that the bail was $35,000. So fast forward to the year 2023, and Kenneth Petty is being sued by Jennifer Huff for this rape that occurred in 1994. Now, most recently, a judge did order that Kenneth Petty try to settle this lawsuit out of court. And I would think that the judge is urging Kenny to settle this lawsuit because, judging by this evidence, it is damning and it shows that Kenneth Petty raped Jennifer Huff. And now, even with all of this evidence that we have presented, Nicki Minaj still stands by her man. And not only does she stand by her man, she stands by other sex offenders as well. Do you guys remember the video that she did with rapper 6ix9ine? And what about her alter ego, Roman Zelensky? That is a play on words for the pedophile Roman Polanski. It seems that Nicki Minaj chooses to engage with sex offenders and ignore the hurt that they have caused their victims. I mean, how can she call herself a queen and claim to have all this undying love for the Barbs, but then stand with sex offenders and pedophiles? But maybe it's learned behavior. I mean, oftentimes when you're a young girl and you're coming up in the beginning stages of a career, older men that have the connections and power to make or break you, they try to manipulate the girls, requiring that sexual favors be given in exchange for studio time, label meetings, and basically anything that they need for their career. I mean, take Bow-Legged Lou from Full Force, for instance. Now, when they did an interview with Vlad TV, Bow-Legged Lou mentioned that he had brought Nicki around his son to introduce her to him after someone that heard Nicki rap introduced the two of them. So being that his son was a rapper and he was looking to form a group, he thought that Nicki would be a good fit. Now, Nicki didn't have any money. She was getting fired from all her jobs. Her mom was broke and her father was on crack. So how was Nicki getting money to pay for studio time or pay for anything related to a rap career? Clothes, video shoots, you name it. I mean, she's often bragged about not having to be one of those girls who had to have sex for records or do favors with men for deals. But when I look at these photos, for some reason, I just see more. There is no denying that grooming definitely takes place in the industry. Now, there's no doubt about it, Nicki Minaj, she's always been a lyricist. But come on, sis, you may have been good, but you weren't that good. Nothing in this world is free. Now, before we get out of here and end this video, I'm going to hit y'all with one more quick tea break. Now, when mentioning things are not free in life, just ask Nicki's alleged sister Ming. Now, she's an artist as well. She is part of a music group called BB Masuda. Now, this group first started off as a duo and then they later added Ming to the group. But wouldn't you think with a big powerhouse sister such as Nicki Minaj that Ming and her group would be much further along than what they are? There should be some songs featuring Nicki, or there could even be a post from Nicki about Ming's group to get everyone interested. I mean, come on, you guys. Did you ever even hear of a group called BB Masuda, let alone even know that Ming was part of the group? Woo child. Now, as you pull back the curtains to Miss Nicki Minaj, things just get more stranger and stranger. And as you know, the Sweet Pea Diaries is going to be right here for every moment of it, analyzing all of it and commentating it all for you guys to enjoy. And guys, if you like this video, please drop down in the comment section below and let me know what you want me to cover in part 2 of this series. That's right, guys, part 2. This was just part 1. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye, guys.